use sugar cane, process it into a crusher. You squeeze out the juice. You have these dried, more or less dried stalks left over, which then are stacked up in the rural areas, and they either rot or some of it gets used to fuel the furnace for making alcohol in a distillery outside of town. Lots of small distilleries in Haiti. So we are now looking at ways of using that product. It's called bagasse, this dried sugar cane spent of its syrup, using dried bagasse as a more efficient fuel that can be cut up and sold as a new source rather than the wood or charcoal that is currently being used by so many. So it's always one thing leading to another.
Well, you're watching Global Connections Television, which is an independently produced program. The opinions expressed on Global Connections are solely those of the moderator and his guest. Today we're talking about the Public-Private Alliance Foundation and the work it's doing in Haiti and the Dominican Republic. And my guest today is very knowledgeable of this organization. My guest today is Dr. David Stillman. Dr. Stillman is the Executive Director of the Public-Private Alliance Foundation. David, we're talking about cook stoves. Now, this may seem very simple to folks who are people who go in and turn their electric stove on, or they turn on the stove and gas comes popping up. But this is very important because you have to look at, first off, what people can afford in certain areas. You also have to look at what's available for them to use and what can they use in an environmentally sound way. And of course, when you see some of the environmental devastation that's taking place, there are many areas where you can try to do that, and you're certainly doing it. Let's jump over, though, to the Dominican Republic for a few minutes. We've spent some time on Haiti. What are you doing in the Dominican Republic, in the agricultural area, in the energy efficiency area, in aquaculture? I know you have many interests, but what is going on in the Dominican Republic in one or all of those areas?
Well, I think you know from our past together that we've been very interested in agricultural advancement in the Dominican Republic. And in fact, the first work of the Public-Private Alliance Foundation was to assist in organizing a national level aquaculture, that's fish farming for those who don't know, aquaculture conference. And that was very successful, and it brought together quite a range of operators. There were farmers, there were university types, there were government types, there were business people. We brought in speakers. We had workshop discussions, and we improved upon, when I say we, I mean all of us who were involved in this, improved upon a draft national plan. And then 3 years later, we were involved again with support to an updating and a revision of that aquaculture national plan. And in fact, it was at that time that the earthquake had just hit in Haiti, and so we were already beginning to look at what are we doing? How can we focus on that other country as well? But in the Dominican Republic and in New York at the United Nations, we had previously held several seminars on renewable energy in 2008, 2009. In 2009, there were 2 at the UN and 2 in the Dominican Republic, exploring bioenergy, solar power, ethanol, the different opportunities that might exist. And it came out really from some of our first contacts in the Dominican Republic, where the senator of Monte Plata province, one of the poorest provinces in the country, took us around and said, look at the kinds of things in which Public-Private Alliance Foundation ought to get involved. And sugar was one of them because of the decrease of the sugar industry and then the unemployment and the attendant problems that of women and microfinance and health and all of those things that connected to the sugar issues.
Talking about going back to aquaculture just for a moment, it's been estimated, I've heard various statistics on this, but it's been estimated that in the not too distant future, 10, 15 years from now, something like 90 or 95% of our fish supplies, fisheries, our fish supplies, I should say, will come from aquaculture because the oceans are being overfished. We see these giant trawlers that are picking up just huge numbers of fish, large amounts of fish, and a lot of them are being thrown out. Even the Dominican Republic and Haiti, which are on the island of Hispaniola, located between Cuba and Puerto Rico, even that area, they're on an island, but still their waters have been overfished to a large degree. So aquaculture is going to play a critical role, not just for the people in those two countries, but for people around the world, will it not?
Yes, yes. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN has done a lot of work in this field, and it's very true that what you might call wild-caught fish from the oceans as well as freshwater are being greatly outstripped by demand. And the overfishing problem depletes what the renewable fish lives might be. Aquaculture is mostly thought of as being freshwater ponds, but there are also ocean cages where you can have saltwater products, and of course these days I think that most mussels are farmed mussels, for example, and grown on stalks. So this is the kind of thing that is coming up very much and essential, really is.
Now you've got partnership. I mean, you are a partnership, Public-Private Alliance Foundation, and you're a partnership though with private nonprofit organizations, UN agencies. Let's talk about some of your partnerships and some of the specific activities that you've undertaken with them. One of the big ones today is the UN Global Compact. That's really a major operation at the United Nations, has over 10,000 businesses, many in the United States and worldwide, that are part of this UN Global Compact. They focused on a variety of things such as environmental, sustainable development activities. They get businesses to focus on labor rights, human rights, corruption, different things like that. How have you teamed up with the UN Global Compact, and what are you folks doing together?
Well, we are a member of the Global Compact, and we emphasize the priorities that the Global Compact stresses so very strongly. The anti-corruption, the various ways of having better business, labor rights, environmental issues, the membership. The thousands now of members of the Global Compact are all pledged to encourage this and promote this and make it well known in their own work, and then to pass that on back to the Global Compact itself. So it's not exactly a partnership with the Global Compact. We are a member of the Global Compact. But we have numerous other partnerships as well. We are a member of the Global Alliance for Clean Cook Stoves. We are a member of the International Statistical Organization's wing that deals with that subject of stoves. We very much pressed the issues of the Millennium Development Goals, which is not an organization, of course, but the 8 Millennium Development Goals are something that we keep emphasizing in relation to poverty, education, health, women's advancement, reduction of major diseases, environment, and partnerships, of course. So those are always themes on our minds. In the U.S., a lot of people have not really heard about the Millennium Development Goals, but in other countries, it is much more on the minds, and national plans have been drawn up that mark the national progress, and even within regions of a country, the progress achieved on elementary school enrollment, or women in political power positions, or the various kinds of things. And I remember very fondly giving a copy of the Millennium Development Goals in Spanish to the Deputy Minister of Agriculture in the Dominican Republic, and he opened out the folder and he said, "Oh, that's what we're doing. That's very important stuff." And it's the kind of thing that you really like to see. We, in the Dominican Republic these days, we have been working with a partner organization called the Batey Relief Alliance, and they are focused on agriculture and education and health issues in Monte Plata province, which is where we got our start also.
Now, in the last minute or so we have left, what do you see along with financing? I know that's always the number one priority and the number one challenge, but what is your major challenge as you move forward to try to assist people in Haiti and in the Dominican Republic?
Well, you know, I think that it comes into a general issue of planetary concern, really, climate change and environment overall. And what does this mean not only at the global level, but on a particular island, whether it be cooking, as we have talked about so much on this show, or other aspects of pollution of the air, of the water, sustainability in employment practices, use of waste, reuse, renewables. So the United Nations Association of the USA is a very important partner for us, and we work with the UN for seminars here in New York that are linked to the UN Association.
Exactly. And as Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, the 8th Secretary General of the UN, when he came in several years ago, that was his first priority and still is, to deal with climate change, because it is affecting every country. People all around the world are being adversely affected in some way or shape by climate change, and we have to focus attention on it, because if we don't, it may get to the point where we hit that the tipping point that former Vice President Al Gore talked about, that we may not be able to even slow down climate change. But Dr. David Stillman with the Public-Private Alliance Foundation, you're doing some very interesting work, but I want to thank you so very much for a very interesting and a very informative program.
Thank you.
Thank you. I am Bill Miller. Thank you for joining us on today's Global Connections program.